Stop. Don't scroll. Your name was spoken in a place you haven't visited yet, and the atmosphere around you is about to change. You have been feeling the weight of a silence that screams, a period of waiting that has pushed you to your absolute limit. You are tired, closer to the point of giving up than you have ever admitted out loud. But something you did today opened an exception in the heavens, an announcement made just for you by the Father today. Your soul has been in a state of permanent alert, a vigil that never ends. Your body lies down, but your spirit refuses to rest, guarding a house that should be under the protection of the Almighty. You wake up at 3 in the morning with a tightness in your chest that has no name, a weight that feels like a shadow. You are exhausted from waiting for a confirmation that seems to never cross the horizon of your life, leaving you weary and drained. Even the simplest decisions now feel like impossible mountains. You find yourself paralyzed by choices that others make without thinking, because your spirit is drained. When you finally decide, you do it in the heat of urgency, and it already tastes like a mistake before the word leaves your mouth. You see the pattern. You recognize the cycle repeating with different people and in different places, yet you cannot find the strength to break the chains that bind you in this season. Your home has become a silent witness to your battle. Your spouse has learned to stop asking how your day was, because the look in your eyes provides an answer they no longer wish to hear. Your children have stopped calling you for the small things, sensing a wall of exhaustion they cannot climb. You cross the threshold of your house, and the silence is heavy, only to find yourself unloading the world's weight at the dinner table during the evening meal with those you love. In this video, I will show you exactly where you have really been during these last months. I will not speak in generalities. I will describe the specific night and the specific silence that finally makes sense of your pain. More than that, I am going to deliver the exact translation of a Hebrew mystery that explains why you are arriving at your moment of change today. This revelation is not for later. It happens right here within this specific message delivered to you now. At the very end, I will declare 3 specific names over your identity. This is not a generic blessing, but a commission that changes how the enemy sees you. You will move from being a victim in the dark to a ruler in the light. But I must warn you, if you leave in the middle, you leave without the ceiling. You might hear the word, but you will lack the authority to walk in the fulfillment of what was promised for your destiny. Think of a seed buried deep in the frozen ground of winter. To the world, the earth looks hard and dead, with no evidence of life or hope. But that seed was placed there with divine intention by hands that knew exactly what they were carrying. Just because you cannot see the growth yet doesn't mean the life isn't vibrating beneath the surface. You are in a season of hidden preparation where the root is finally taking hold for the coming harvest. You have not been fighting poorly. You have been fighting without the proper tools. You are like a soldier on a battlefield with the heart of a lion, but without the sword that was promised to his lineage. There is a specific instrument intended for your journey, a tool left behind by those who walked this path before you. You have been struggling with your bare hands, unaware that a map and a staff were always meant to be held in your strong grasp. Before we go further, write "I am here" in the comments as a decree of your positioning today. Regarding the exhaustion of your soul and the weight you bring home, there is something Solomon left recorded. He documented a 2-minute key that fits perfectly into your common day, designed to lift the burden and restore the clarity you have lost. It is a precise instrument for the chosen, and I will show it to you in just a few moments from now. If you absolutely must leave before the end of this video, this instrument is already waiting for you in the first pinned comment below. However, I strongly urge you to stay until the very last word. Without the context I am about to provide, the key will not have the same power in your hands. To use the tool, you must first understand the mystery of the one who forged it. The foundation is what makes the structure truly stand against the wind. We are about to enter a part of this revelation that was hidden for generations. What you hear next will explain the strange occurrences in your life over the past few weeks. But before I open that door, I have one question for you to ponder. What happens to a seed that no one planted and no one ever bothers to water, yet it still insists on growing through the cracks of the concrete? The answer will change everything you believe about your life. Between the announcement of your great days and the moment you actually step into your MOED, there is an interval, an interval the adversary knows better than you do. It is in this gap that most chosen ones lose what was granted to them, not because the decree was revoked, but because they walked back through the prison gates on Monday morning without the proper instrument to sustain the vision. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. This isn't just a title from a history book, it is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything at all, he didn't ask for wealth or long life or the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom, and God was so moved by the request that he gave him wisdom and everything else alongside it. He judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom knew how to rule. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the historical peak that nation has ever seen, before or since. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months by camel just to test this wisdom, and when she returned, she said that not even half had been told. And Jesus himself, Jesus in person, cited Solomon by name, and he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with surgical precision that has crossed 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left recorded how to stop walking in circles around the same prison cell when the gate has already been unlocked by the Father. He left recorded how to avoid letting the scent of the dungeon follow you into your home, making your spouse and children breathe your exhaustion at the dinner table so that your family can finally breathe and not need you to be perfect, they need you present. And he left recorded how to walk with the posture of a prime minister instead of begging for crumbs while carrying a royal ring in your spirit, to stop you from deciding in the heat of pain, stop you from asking advice from those who only sink you, and stop you from believing those who sell cheap miracles. Before I name the instrument, move your thumb to the first pinned comment right below. Don't click yet. Just let your gaze reach it and recognize that it's there. Do that now. I have gathered this into a guide called The Code of Solomon's Wisdom. It is a main written guide in PDF that you read in one 40-minute sitting, plus the audio of the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep in MP3 to listen to before bed, and the written guide of the 7 morning decrees in PDF to open in the first hour of your day. It is in the first pinned comment right below. It is the union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, which take a person out of survival mode and into a state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the common day you are living right now, in this week that begins tomorrow. Along with the main guide, there are 2 instruments I placed there, because without them, the guide would have a hole. The first is the Ritual of the Righteous Sleep. 10 minutes before bed, guided by Psalm 4:8, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. This is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the guard of him who never sleeps what you carried all day long, so that your soul stops standing watch over the divine clock of your MOED when it is already in the hands of someone who doesn't need you awake to defend what is yours. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees, 5 minutes upon waking, before your phone, before your coffee. 7 decrees pronounced in your own voice, taken from the wisdom of Proverbs, which position the day before the day positions you. It is the posture of a royal heir before the calendar, the bills, and the routine speak for you. And the value, the value. Less than a Starbucks coffee in the afternoon, less than a simple Sunday lunch with your family, less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I set it at this value on purpose, not because it is worth little. It is worth what Solomon left recorded for 3,000 years. I set it at this value so that the only obstacle between you and the instrument would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not the price, not the schedule, not the distance, just your hand toward the link. And it has a 7 days guarantee. If you open it, use it for a week, and it doesn't serve you, you send an email and get your money back in full. And here is the part no one else does. You keep the 2 bonus instruments. The Ritual of the Righteous Sleep stays with you. The Awakening of Clarity, the 7 morning decrees stays with you, even after the refund. This is not a generous concession. It is the recognition that the risk of testing must not be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is the risk of not testing. Several people here on this channel in recent weeks have already received this instrument. Fathers, grandparents, people who carry their household on their backs. I've read messages from a husband who sat down at the dinner table and his wife noticed the difference without needing to ask. From a grandmother who managed to pray with her grandchild without the weight of the day crossing the prayer. From those who slept through the night for the first time in months. It's not magic. It's the right instrument in the right hand. And while they sleep tonight with their soul handed over, your calendar keeps running. The next night, you will lay your head on the pillow with your soul still on alert is tonight. Maybe 3 hours from now. The next morning, you will wake up thinking about the battles is tomorrow. Every night without the ritual of the righteous sleep is a night your body will pay for. Every morning without the awakening of clarity. The 7. Morning decrees is a morning the world rewrites first. The cost of delaying is not 0, but do not leave now. The ceiling is not yet over. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left recorded. It is the Hebrew name of what is happening to you at this very moment. The name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did today. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to here was preparation for just one word. Stay. You have been walking through a mist where the landmarks of your faith seem to have moved. This is not confusion. It is a recalibration of your spirit. Before the palace gates swing open, the Father allows a series of specific pressures to refine the vessel. You have looked at these signs as evidence of abandonment, but they are actually the fingerprints of your election. I'm going to list 5 specific signs that you have been carrying. As I name them, you will feel a shiver of recognition, for these are the secret credentials of the one who is about to be revealed. The first sign is a sudden, unsettling change in the temperature of your prayers. For years you knew how to reach the throne with ease, but lately it feels as if your words are hitting a bronze ceiling. Your petitions seem to fall back into the room, leaving you in a dry, echoing silence. You thought you lost your anointing, but the truth is far more profound. God is moving you from the language of a petitioner to the authority of a governor. The ceiling isn't a barrier. It is a sounding board, forcing you to find a deeper frequency within your spirit. The second sign is an unnameable weight that settles on your chest every time a common decision presents itself. You find yourself paralyzed by choices that once seemed simple, as if every move carries the gravity of 1,000 years. You have noticed a haunting pattern repeating in your life. Different people, different cities, yet the same cycle of stagnation and frustration. You see the walls of the prison clearly. You have diagnosed the error, yet you lack the strength to break the lock. This is the weight of the transition, where your old tools no longer work. The third sign is the heavy silence that meets you at the threshold of your own home. It isn't that you are unloved, but that you have become a shadow in your own living room. You walk through the door and the atmosphere shifts. Your spouse has learned to stop asking how was your day, because they can no longer bear the exhaustion in your eyes. Your children sense a wall they cannot climb and have slowly stopped calling for your attention. You are surrounded by your family, yet you are profoundly alone, unloading the world's bitterness at the dinner table. The fourth sign is the appearance of invisible breaches in your daily life, where your resources and energy simply evaporate. You feel like you are pouring water into a bag with holes. No matter how much you earn or how much you sleep, the drain is constant. Your body feels as if it is running on a reserve tank that has been empty for weeks. These are the leaks of the dungeon vibration, where the environment itself is trying to consume the light you carry. You are being drained because you are fighting a spiritual battle with physical muscles. The fifth sign is the absolute crushing silence of God in response to your desperate pleas for a sign or a confirmation. You have asked for a fleece, for a word, for a dream, and the answer has been a void that echoes. This silence is not a no, and it is not a wait. It is the silence of a courtroom when the judge is about to read the verdict. You are in the moment between the evidence and the decree. The silence is the validation that your case has moved to the highest court, where words are no longer enough. If you recognize yourself in at least 3 of these 5 signs, it is time to move from a posture of confusion to a posture of decree. This recognition is your first step out of the shadows. I want you to stop right now and write in the comments, "I carry what no one else carries." By typing these words, You are not just engaging with a video, you are announcing to the atmosphere that you have identified the weight of your calling. You are acknowledging that your struggle is not a sign of failure, but a credential of your unique election. Think of a diamond being forged deep within the earth. It is subjected to an unbearable pressure that would crush anything else into dust. You have felt this pressure in your finances, in your mind, and in your home, and you have called it an attack. But this is the divine pressure chamber. What you perceived as the enemy trying to smash you is actually the Father refining you. The crushing weight is not intended to destroy you, but to turn the common carbon of your life into a gem that can reflect the glory of the palace. Before I give you the Hebrew name of what you carry, I must remind you of something vital. The instrument that Solomon left recorded, the one I mentioned at the start, it does not replace the name you are about to receive. It is the tool that helps you sustain that name in the cold reality of Monday morning. Once the decree is spoken, you will need the staff to walk the path. First we must name the season, then we must take up the instrument. Stay with me, for the revelation and the tool are about to meet. There is a specific word in Hebrew that defines exactly what you are walking through right now. It is a word that changes the calendar of your life from a sequence of random events into a scheduled encounter with destiny. When I say this word, the scales will fall from your eyes, and you will never look at your period of waiting with the same fear again. You will realize that you haven't been lost in a desert. You have been arriving at an appointment. Stay, for the word is coming. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the rhythm of your heart, not as a clock of anxiety, but as the drum of a march that has already begun. You have been running through the dark, trying to force doors that seemed bolted from the inside, wondering if the announcement of your great days was a lie. But the Father says that before a season changes, the vibration of your spirit must change. To receive what is coming, you must first silence the noise of the dungeon and tune your heart to the frequency of the throne. There is a word written in the ancient scrolls that explains exactly where you are standing right now. That word is Moed. Many who read the scriptures casually translate this simply as a time or an appointed season, a mere date on a calendar that you are waiting for with folded arms. But that is a shallow casing, a surface-level understanding that misses the divine electricity behind the term. To think of it only as a wait is to see the prison walls of Joseph without seeing the keys already turning in the lock. In the original depth of the spirit, Moed is a fixed encounter, a divine appointment that cannot be cancelled by the noise of the world or the shadows of your past. It is the divine clock striking the midnight turn. It is not just about the passage of days. It is about the scent of change reaching your nostrils while you are still wearing the rags of the dungeon. Your Moed is the moment when the atmosphere of the palace invades the silence of your waiting, signaling that the royal garment has already been tailored for your spirit. The record of your current moment is written with absolute authority in the Psalms. The word declares in Psalm 102:13, "Thou shalt arise and have mercy upon Zion. For the time to favor her, yea, the set time, the Moed is come." Hear that clearly. The set time is not merely approaching, it is not being debated in the courts of heaven. It is come. The favor you have been begging for is not a future possibility. It is a current appointment that has just reached the front door of your life. You must understand that this period of your life has a name before it has an end. By naming your season Modus, you are stripping the enemy of the power to call it abandonment or failure. You are not lost in a desert. You are at an altar of preparation. The silence you have endured was not the absence of God, but the midnight turn where the Father was setting the table while you were still hungry. Your waiting was never empty. It was the gathering of weight for the glory that is about to be revealed. Think again of that seed buried in the winter soil. You thought the cold was meant to kill it, but the winter was the only thing that could trigger the code of the harvest. Your life has been under a frozen layer of silence, but beneath the surface, the Moed, before, was vibrating within you. This Hebrew word is the code that opens the sealed file of your identity. You are Joseph, and the call from the palace has already been issued. You are no longer a prisoner of time. You are the owner of an appointment. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I must show you that someone carried this exact weight before you. And what happened to that person in the very hour their Mo-ed-e arrived will change everything you believe about your own survival. There was a specific moment when the smell of the prison was traded for the oil of the palace in a single breath. I promised to come back to this, and that moment is now. You are sitting in the same shadows Joseph once occupied. For years you have watched the seasons change through a small, barred window in your spirit, feeling the cold air of the dungeon while the sun shines on everyone else. You were forgotten by those you helped, slandered by those you served with integrity, and ignored by a system that was supposed to protect your calling. Like Joseph, you have carried a dream that often felt like a death sentence, a promise that seemed to only increase your suffering. The silence of the dungeon has been your only constant companion, making you wonder if the great days were just a cruel hallucination of a younger, more hopeful heart. But look closer at Joseph in that silence. He did not just sit in the straw waiting for a miracle, he managed the prison. He identified the leaks in the ration bags, the gaps in the guards' rotations, and the hidden patterns in the hearts of those around him. When the time came to interpret dreams for the cupbearer and the baker, it wasn't just a spiritual flash, it was the application of a strategic wisdom he had forged in the dark. He understood that a kingdom is saved not just by a prophecy, but by the administration of the resources within that prophecy. He didn't just predict the harvest, he built the granaries with the precision of a master architect, closing every hole where the abundance of a nation could have been lost. Then, in a single hour, the Mo-ed arrived. The messenger from the throne didn't ask if Joseph felt ready, he commanded him to come. Joseph had to shave off the smell of the dungeon and put on a garment that matched his internal preparation in a matter of minutes. His invisible years of managing the small things in the dark became the visible authority to manage a global crisis in the light. You have been in that same invisible forge, refining a wisdom that the world cannot yet see. Your transition from the pit to the palace will not be a lucky break or a random event. It will be the collision of your prepared spirit with God's appointed clock. Before we seal this identity, I want you to press the like button right now. Do not do it for me or for this channel. Do it as an act of spiritual intercession. Every like is a signal to the atmosphere to find another Joseph who is currently sitting in the dungeon, breathing the smell of the prison and losing hope. By clicking, you are telling the divine algorithm that the message of the Mo-ed must reach everyone who is carrying a dream under the weight of silence. You are clearing the path for someone else's visitation while you stand at the threshold of your own. I declare over you now your first name in this new season. You are the keeper of the weight. You are no longer a victim of time, but the guardian of the interval. This name authorizes you to stand in the gap between the promise and the fulfillment without your soul becoming bitter or your spirit becoming weak. You have been given the strength to watch the horizon while others have gone to sleep, knowing that the morning star is not a wish, but a certainty. You are the sentinel of the transition, keeping the flame alive while the world waits for the sun to rise. As the keeper of the weight, the enemy can no longer use the delay to drive you to despair. This identity gives you the power to see the purpose in the silence and the strategy in the stall. You are the one who maintains the fire in the frozen ground of winter, ensuring that the seed of your legacy does not die before the thaw. You are now stationed at the gate of your own destiny, refusing to let the shadows speak louder than the voice of the Father who called you from the womb. The delay is no longer your enemy, it is your training ground. Your second name is the target of the visitation. You have been marked by a divine frequency that the heavens are now tracking with surgical precision. This name means that the Mo-ed is not just a general time, but a specific destination that has your name engraved on it. You are no longer searching for the favor. The favor is searching for you. The heavens have locked onto your spirit's coordinates, and the blessing is already in transit to the very house where you have wept in secret. You are the focused point of a divine appointment. As the target of the visitation, your atmosphere is now hostile to the spirits of lack, stagnation, and invisibility. This identity authorizes a sudden shift in your environment. Doors that were once welded shut will now respond to your very presence. You are the one whom God has chosen to visit in a way that makes the scoffers tremble and the doubters fall silent. This name ensures that when the angel of the Moed arrives, he will not pass your door, for he recognizes the mark of the visitation upon your forehead and the readiness in your hands. Your third and final name is the Odd Heir of the Encounter. You are not a guest in the palace. You are the one for whom the table was prepared. This name signifies that you have inherited the authority of those who walked before you, from Abraham to Solomon. You are the rightful possessor of the breakthrough that has been delayed by the Prince of the Air. This is not a gift you have earned through your own strength. It is a legacy you are stepping into because you refused to die in the dungeon. You are claiming what was signed in your name before the foundations of the world. As the heir of the encounter, you are now authorized to speak to the mountains in your life with the voice of a ruler, not a beggar. This identity silences the voice of your past and the accusations of your failures. You have the right to claim the peace in your bedroom, the restoration of your family table, and the abundance in your storehouses. You are no longer asking for permission to survive. You are taking possession of the encounter that was promised to your lineage. The palace doesn't just welcome you, it recognizes you. Joseph lived in this exact frequency. He was a transmitter of the palace's order, even while his feet were still in chains. These three names I have just declared are the keys that tune your internal receptor to the frequency of the MOED. When your spirit begins to vibrate with the names of the keeper, the target, and the heir, the noise of the dungeon is cancelled out. You are no longer receiving the signals of fear and exhaustion. You are now broadcasting the authority of the one who has an appointment with the king. Your internal alignment is creating the external breakthrough. But there is something the enemy is desperate for you to never find out about these three names. He knows that once you understand the secret hidden within this triple identity, he loses the only weapon he has ever successfully used to keep you in the dungeon. He has been hiding this truth from your bloodline for generations, praying that you would stay in the silence forever. Because when you know this last secret, the walls of the prison don't just shake, they dissolve. And I am going to reveal that secret to you in the final word of this message. Now that your names have been spoken in the heavens, and the seal of your MOED is fresh upon your spirit, do not be deceived into thinking the atmosphere will remain unopposed. The adversary does not retreat simply because a word was given. He intensifies his strategy because your value has been revealed. He knows that a Joseph without a map is still a threat, but a Joseph with an instrument is a ruler. We are entering the strategic mapping phase, where the hidden traps of the enemy are exposed and the counter-weapons of the heavens are provided. The enemy's first tactic is the erosion of your progress through the loop of the dungeon vibration. He will attempt to trick your spirit into walking in circles around the same prison cell, even though the Father has already unlocked the gate. He uses the familiarity of your past failures to make you doubt the new path, whispering that you are destined to repeat the same mistakes in every new season. This tactic is designed to keep you paralyzed in a state of stagnation, preventing you from stepping out into the light of your appointed visitation. Your first weapon is the decree of new mapping. You must silence the voice of stagnation by declaring that your old cycles have been legally terminated in the courts of heaven. Stand in your room and announce that you are no longer a resident of the dungeon, but a citizen of the palace. Refuse to consult your past failures when making decisions for your future, for your MOED has provided a new set of coordinates that lead away from the circle and toward the throne. By speaking this decree, you break the gravitational pull of the old prison walls and move forward. The enemy's second tactic is the erosion of your home through the transmission of the dungeon's weight. He wants you to cross the threshold of your house, carrying the scent of the struggle, making your spouse and children breathe the exhaustion you accumulated in the world. By filling your family table with the static of your battles, he attempts to turn your sanctuary into a place of recovery rather than a place of celebration. He knows that if he can drain the peace from your bedroom, he can stifle the strength you need to govern the day ahead. Your second weapon is the authority of the sanctuary atmosphere. When you reach your home, you must consciously drop the world's weight at the door and declare your house a dungeon-free zone. Remember the moments when the Father's peace was an undeniable shield over your family. Rebuild that altar of rest and use it as a barrier against the static. When you refuse to unload the dungeon's bitterness on those you love, you preserve the strength of your spirit and protect the heritage of your home. The memory of God's past faithfulness becomes the proof that your house is guarded today. The enemy's third tactic is the erosion of your posture through the spirit of the beggar. He wants you to continue asking for crumbs and seeking validation from the dungeon guards, even though you carry the ring of a prime minister in your spirit. By making you feel like an intruder in your own destiny, he attempts to convince you to decide in the heat of pain rather than the clarity of wisdom. He counts on your weariness to make you settle for a temporary reprieve instead of claiming the full inheritance that was promised to your bloodline. Your third weapon is the resistance of the royal posture. This is the holy refusal to act like a victim when you have been called to be an heir. You do not need to beg for a sign. You simply need to remain standing in the authority of your commission. Plant your feet in the truth that you are the heir of the encounter and tell the darkness that you will no longer accept the crumbs of survival. This stubborn refusal to bow to the dungeon's logic is the weapon that exhausts the adversary. When you act like a ruler, the gates respond. Now, take a physical step of positioning by subscribing to this channel. Do not do this as a casual social gesture or to follow a personality, but as a strategic positioning of your receptor for the days that are coming. By joining this remnant, you are announcing that your spirit is tuned to the frequency of the MOD and that you refuse to walk alone in the dungeon. This is a decree of alignment, ensuring that the next signals from the throne reach you with clarity and strength. Position yourself now among those who carry the map and the staff. Now that you know exactly what you are dealing with and the weapons you have been authorized to carry, there is a final act that must be performed. Knowledge of the strategy is not enough. The seal must be applied through a specific intercession. There is a prayer that needs to be released from this atmosphere, not by me alone, but through you. I'm going to lead you through a doorway that cannot be reopened by the enemy once we cross it together. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and prepare your heart. The most important moment of this entire revelation begins now. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Breathe deeply before we continue. Let the silence of the room become the altar where your journey changes today. You have been running for so long that you forgot what it feels like to just stand still in the presence of the one who called you by name. This is not a moment of religious tradition. It is a moment of constitutional alignment. Your spirit is about to receive the signature of the king on the decree of your MOD. Feel the weight of your hands against your heart and let the noise of the world, the bills, the exhaustion, and the dungeon fade into the background. You are here to receive the seal that no man can break. You are speaking to him now, not with a script, but with the raw truth of your weariness. You are confessing that your body feels like a vessel with 1,000 leaks and that your soul has stayed awake for weeks, standing guard over a house that you aren't even sure is protected. You are telling him about the decisions that felt like traps and the heavy silence at your family table that has become a wall you can no longer climb. You are admitting that being chosen has felt more like a prison of a promise than a blessing of an inheritance. This is the honest confession of a Joseph who is tired of the straw and the bars, ready to trade the smell of the dungeon for the oil of the appointment. Now receive the names that were declared over you today. You are standing here as the keeper of the weight, the target of the visitation, and the heir of the encounter. You are not begging for a crumb, you are preparing to receive a kingdom. Let these identities sink into the marrow of your bones, replacing the labels of failure and fatigue that the world has tried to tattoo on your spirit. You are accepting the garment of the palace while your feet are still in the dust of the prison, because you know that the change begins within the receptor before it manifests in the environment. You are positioned for the strike of the divine clock. The transition is happening within you right now. I saw you on the nights when you lay perfectly still, looking up at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, and the tightness in your chest arrived before your first conscious thought. I was there when you sat on the edge of the bed with your head in your hands, wondering if your strength would last until the sun came up. I counted every breath that felt like a struggle and every heartbeat that was skipped in fear. You thought you were alone in that vigil, but I was the shadow in the corner, keeping the adversary from touching the light that was hidden in your exhaustion. I saw your body failing, and I was already preparing the oil of your restoration. I saw you sitting at the kitchen table with those papers spread out before you, making a choice in the heat of desperation. Because the clarity you prayed for didn't seem to arrive in time. I saw you wake up the next morning with the heavy weight of an error that you had already diagnosed in your spirit, yet found yourself unable to stop. I saw you paralyzed by the fear of moving left or right, anchored by the memory of the last 3 doors that slammed shut in your face. I saw you trying to manage the kingdom with a beggar's map, and I am here today to replace your confusion with the surgical precision of my wisdom. I saw you crossing the threshold of your front door in the evening, unloading the world's bitterness on the very people I gave you to cherish, and I saw your family slowly learn to stop asking how your day was. I saw the look in your spouse's eyes when they realized you were present in body, but 1,000 miles away in spirit, still fighting the battles of the dungeon at the dinner table. I saw your children pull back, sensing a wall of fatigue they didn't know how to climb. I saw the pain of being a provider who has no peace to provide, and I am healing the atmosphere of your home even as I speak. You have been forged in the dark for a purpose that the light will soon celebrate. The dungeon was not your destination. It was your granary, the place where you learn to store the grain of wisdom for the years of hunger. I am calling you out of the straw and into the garment of the governor. Your Moed has not just approached, it has arrived at your gate. You are no longer a prisoner of the process, but the master of the harvest. Take up the instrument I have placed before you, for the keys of the kingdom are now vibrating in your hands. Walk out of the shadows, for the palace is ready for the Joseph I have refined. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Let these words be the 3 pillars that hold up the roof of your new identity. This triple seal is the legal confirmation that your status has changed in the courts of heaven. The enemy can no longer recognize you by the smell of the prison, for you have been marked by the decree of the king. The commission is irrevocable, the commitment is eternal, and the sending is for this specific hour in history. You are no longer drifting, you are moving with divine intent toward your appointment. Don't say amen yet. Stay here in this weight, in this frequency. Let the silence of the room be filled with the authority of what has just been declared over your life. You are standing in the intersection of your past and your future, and the bridge is being built under your feet as you breathe. Do not rush to return to the noise of the world. Allow the seal to dry upon your spirit like fresh ink on a royal decree. This is the moment where the internal vibration of the air finally matches the external clock of the Moed. The transition is happening in the silence between your heartbeats, and the adversary cannot interfere with this legal process. Think once more of the seed that spent the winter buried in the frozen ground. The world called it dead. The snow tried to bury it, and the frost tried to crack its heart. But the code of the harvest was stronger than the pressure of the ice. The earth is breaking now. The ground that seemed like a grave is becoming a womb. The life that was hidden in the dark is pushing through the surface, and the winter of your soul is being terminated by the heat of my visitation. The harvest you thought was lost is standing in your field, ready for the hands of the one who refused to quit in the cold. Now you may say amen. Let the word leave your lips not as a wish, but as a period at the end of a sentence that God himself has written. As you open your eyes, do not look for the dungeon walls, for they have already begun to dissolve in the light of the palace. The appointment has been met, the encounter has been sealed, the instrument is in your hand, and the path is open before you. Carry the peace of this moment into the battles of tomorrow, for the air does not fight for victory, but from the victory that has already been won. The smell of the prison is gone. Go in peace. Amen. Don't open your eyes yet. Keep your hands on your chest. The seal is fresh, and it's exactly now that the adversary will try his first attack. What was sealed here will be tested on the first Monday morning, when the routine returns, when the voice of the cycle tries to reread this as a passing emotion. He who was commissioned without an instrument walks into an open field without what Joseph left recorded. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it must survive the common day. The Code of Solomon's wisdom is in the first pinned comment right below, not as a substitute, but as a companion to defend what was sealed. Because a decree without an instrument rots on Monday morning, and the adversary counts on Monday. Less than a Starbucks coffee, less than a Saturday afternoon snack. With a 7 days guarantee and the 2 bonus instruments that stay with you even if it doesn't serve you. The risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now while the decree is alive in your chest. He who leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary counts on later. That voice whispering right now, you'll see later. Decide tomorrow. Now is not the time. That voice is not yours. That voice is the voice of the one who lost today in the court of heaven and is trying to recover ground on your Monday morning. He counts on later now too. Click before the adversary speaks louder than the decree that has just been sealed over your head. And now, the last word. There is someone in your circle carrying exactly the same prison scent you carried until today. Someone who will arrive home tonight unloading the same heavy weight of the dungeon. This person won't stop scrolling on their own. They need someone to send this. That someone is you. This is not sharing a video. It is interceding. Now close your eyes, breathe 3 times, and remain in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Don't scroll. Don't leave. Stay.